Okay, so today is actually, well, it is before my next session, and I wanted to sort of do a little behind the scenes kind of prep work. And of course, I'm still going to use my hourglass for my own purposes for timekeeping. But what I'm trying to do today is set up the perspective dungeon that both Torson and Diomedes are going to be running through. So what I have at the table is some dungeon tiles from the adventure series of games by a D&D. I'm using the tile set from both the Wrath of Shadowdark and the Temple of Elemental Evil board games. And all I'm going to be doing today is trying to figure out the best tile set that would fit on my table. I figured I didn't want to change up the format too much, so I just wanted to find something that worked. I had attempted to use my old Labyrinth board game to use for the dungeon, but it was a little too abstracted. So I wanted something that I could use as per the rules of the game. So, oh, my wife just showed me a crazy, what? All right, so just tell me what that is, and that's it. Just tell me what that is. I don't know what that is.
Rice Krispie treat.
That is not Rice Krispies, honey.
Well, yeah.
Anyway, I wanted to try to figure out what tile set to use. What I like about these tiles is that it actually comes with like an abstracted town that you could, in theory, build out and have for a campaign or something. And I think that's pretty cool, actually. But I just need something that would fit on my desk here, and it is going to be fairly small. It's going to be a 3x5, so 15 tiles that I need to pick. I already picked out a couple of them. This tile and the oubliette tile, so I definitely want these two. So I need 13 more. And going through each tile set, the Wrath of Shadowdark tiles have a cooler sort of color palette, and honestly, the tiles are actually less reflective. So that might work better for, well, obviously camera use. But I sort of want to go through and pick a few tiles that just speak to me. What is that? That looks like glue and something that fell. And ooh, something that has doors would be good. Hallways are good. T-intersections, hallway. Don't really care about the large room stuff. So special start tile, no. Yeah, if any of you have not played the Wrath of Shadowdark board game or the Temple of Elemental board game, I highly recommend them. They're a lot of fun. The mechanics of the game are fairly similar, and the system is cross-compatible, so you can play with you can play with the tiles from another with the other. It just makes it a little more complicated. Anyway, really fun game, really fun system. Hallways, curves, doorways. I like the doorways. Ooh, tunnel exit. We might actually come down this one. I don't know. A couple of large ones would be all right, I guess. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to be using all of these. This, again, like I said, I'm just trying to figure out what I wanted to use. And this is the process. This is me playing Shadowdark while I set up the next, quote, session. But again, everything is play, so this is something of note. What I like to say is, and I know now that I'm up here and I'm sharing my content with the world, so to speak, and my kids are kind of they're taken aback that their father is a quote Gen X boomer, a Gen X YouTuber, and that seems funny to them. So I won't use any of these. It's interesting, and I've been watching a lot of YouTube, a lot of content for many years, for well over. Oh wow, I've been part of the community in terms of watching stuff on YouTube since its infancy. Been using it as a resource for definitely well over a decade, for sure. And here I am now sharing my thoughts and my games with everybody, with Torson and Geometries. Eventually I'll find a Minotaur mini that works. I don't really have a Minotaur. I have a lot of like gnolls, I have orcs, I have a lot of other classic stuff. And the closest one that looks like a Minotaur is just way too big. It's like I know in Dungeons and Dragons, like Minotaurs, I think are a huge creature or a large creature. I believe, I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. So I'm gonna go through these in a minute. And now I want to go through the tiles from the other set, just to. Massacre site is an interesting room. Furnace room is interesting. Guard room is interesting. The altars, they're also interesting, but again, we only have 15 spaces, and I think we are in a mountainous region. This is the home of the Oracle. I can't remember what we named. Let me get out you get to see, well, literally this is what I do. I'm just talking out loud while I do it. Get my journal out, and I can't remember what we named the Pillars of Crimson Death. Right after they discovered the Lone Storm elf tracking rival crawler group that didn't really like them very much. So, yep. So we are in the Oracle's teeth and an Arctic sort of cold-capped mountain, and this is in theory. So this was like a pillar of ice that had opened up when they arrived. How that happened, I don't think that we actually figured that out, but we do know that we're going into a dungeon of some sort. I almost like using these tiles because they're bluish hue, and visually they look more like they could be covered in ice if that is something that comes into play, or how cold it is. So that's something of note. Pillars of Crimson Death. Oh, and in fact, I can pull out my little Perilous Badlands hex map, this is where our characters are right now. So page 31, go to page 31. Point of interests, the Oracle home. So it says it's a tower, and so it might lead to a tower that we didn't see. So page 111, go to page 111, and Pillars of Crimson Death, sapphire-eyed lich statue skull on pillar of ice. Okay, and I wrote dungeon. So that is where we are right now in the Perilous Badlands. Okay, now that I got that, and what I also am probably going to do, I don't know if I'll get to it on camera, I might make my own kind of random encounter table of monsters to run into. Effectively, what I think I'll do is I will go through. I might even make a monster too, and that might be something fun to do as a separate video or something like that. Most of my content has just been, you know, me playing the game or me rambling on about something that I like. So I don't know what sort of things that I want to do as like a focus, but I'm just gonna record things that I find interesting at the time. So I think that's what I'll be doing for the most part. Yeah, I might roll on the Arctic encounters, but I believe there is like a random encounter like table for when they are exploring, when they're delving, or sorry, when they're crawling. Random encounters, yeah. So purpose, yep. And then I can roll on traps and hazards. Something happens, that's not really, but crawlers, the maps. So this was something that I was thinking about using, but in terms of the flow of playing the game, I think I'm going to use these tiles because, again, you know, the tactility or the I like tactile things. I like to touch and feel and to play the game and to roll physical dice and to write with a pencil and have paper and a notebook in front of me. And this is much more of a preparation thing that I could do ahead of time or create make it a session. But I figure today I would just spend some time, probably 30 minutes or so, trying to figure out what kind of, you know, tiles to use for my randomly created dungeon. And as per the rules, I think I'm just going to treat anything that is right next to Torson or this as a close, anything that is on the tile as near, and again as far as they can see is far, obviously. So that's kind of what I might be doing. Let's keep these guys here to keep me company while I figure out how to best, you know, create some drama for them in a dungeon. But yeah, so I might utilize this at some future date, but I think for this particular dungeon, I just want to have something quick and easy to, one, create, and two, play on a video form that I can get done within an hour. So that's kind of why I'm thinking using this method over this method. That is the quote downside to a lot of tables on the fly. The tables on the fly are fine if time is of no real constraint, but the Shadowdark rules and the torch timer and stuff and how I'm playing my games and recording them, this feels a little on the bloated side of things. And, you know, for the pacing purposes, it's not really an issue. I don't mind how long things take. But again, this will just be, quote, easier to do, and I felt inspired to use these board game pieces. But I do want to figure out a table or two to roll on during I could keep rolling on the Arctic for cold stuff, but there are there are not deep tunnels. We could roll on deep tunnels, but that's more like Underdark type stuff. Jungle, low district, market. I wish I would remember all these things. Mountain would be interesting because this is high up in a mountain. Ruins, depending on what it's like. Slums, of course not. Let's see here. Oh, and I guess you guys get to see my thought process while I prepare things. And for the most part, if I'm not preparing things like this, it is all off the cuff. But sometimes I do like games that this is all you do. There's a really interesting game called Cartograph. It is effectively just a map making game, and you are a cartographer that goes around and maps the world. And I love that idea so much. I love maps. One day I can give a tour of my walls and all my maps that are on my walls. And I love maps so much. So the idea of a role-playing game, but it's more of a procedure game, that you take on the role of a cartographer and you map the game. But you don't do anything with it. You're just mapping it. But that's the process. That's the game itself. And that is just so much fun. But yeah, so it looks like there's no specific like dungeon roller. But I could roll on ruins. I can roll on things that make sense at the time and then change this to make sense. But I think I might roll on the what do you call monster stuff. All right, little activity out in the kitchen. Wanted to quiet things down. I usually keep my door open for my dog to come and hang out with me, but people are waking up. All right. Yeah, like, I thought there would be a pretty interesting random table. Now that I'm looking at this, monsters by level would be would be helpful. And I do know that there are resources online that I could utilize. But again, that's more time researching and finding and then printing it out and then making it work on the fly. So I don't mind trying to figure it out myself. And God, I love that art so much. That is such a good piece. Wow. That is amazing. 233. Did they mark? Yes. Okay, who did that piece? 233. Lucas Court, page 233. Wow, Lucas Court. Fantastic job. Wow, I love that piece so much. I was only kind of glancing at it when I was trying to find the Minotaur stat block, because I was more focused on the text and this stuff than this piece. Wow, that is really awesome. That would be a nice little square piece, like hanging up on a wall or like a hallway, at the end of a hallway. Reminds me of the Scarlet Minotaur statues in the I can't remember. It's the introductory dungeon adventure in the Quick Start Guide for Shadowdark. Also, great great resource. That quick start guide is pretty good. It's really good. I still have it bound. In fact, it's right there. Also, fantastic art on that one too. Look at me getting sidetracked. I'm not doing the thing I said I was going to do. Random encounter stuff, that's fine. That's really nice to help to have, but I sort of need a... I think I'm going to have to do this at some other time, but today, let me just focus on figuring out the tile sets. Okay, so these are the ones that I wanted or potentially could use for that. And let's pick out, so the altars, I don't think I'm going to use any of these at all. Put that over there. Now these are just random, so the elemental evil tiles, slightly more glossy, and they actually have interesting things on them. These little red X's were meant for traps, which is interesting. So I could implement traps, and because of these tiles, they have doors. And I have door tiles that I could use to mark them as locked or whatever. So that would be interesting. I could do that. I could actually just bring in a lot of those board game elements to mark as locked or not, because the Shadowdark... look at me not remembering where things are in the book. Random encounters. So how granular do I want to be? I don't know. Because I could, feature. So I would want to roll on this. We know that the site type is, I could roll. Like, I don't want to roll like if it's a cave, but I'm thinking it could be a tomb or ruins, technically, in terms of the style. And it looks like it's more often than not going to be a ruins over a tomb. But this is the home of the Oracle, or maybe it's something completely different. Narratively, we haven't figured that out, and that's something that we can find out in the next proper session of the adventures of Torson and Diomedes. This is how my brain works. I'm all over the place, but I enjoy it. I love sinking my teeth into the hobby and getting lost in it, and then coming up for air from time to time. Yesterday, I was so lost in it. I was watching Hidden Cup 5. It is an Age of Empires 2 a tournament run by T90 Official. He's effectively a professional caster for the game. I'm old school. I actually used to play it a long time ago, back in the early 2000s, and then it got a resurgence of players. Yada yada yada. A couple decades later, it is still played by pros and stuff. And this is the first time I've been able to watch my nerd football, and it was on all day for like 7 hours. So I got to watch a bunch of Age of Empires 2 games, along with doing some recordings for my other series, my Starforge game. I did a lot of recording for that. I have several weeks worth of content for that up and ready to upload. And among other things, I played Vaeson for a bit. I also got to play more of Against the Wind, which I did a quick video on as well. And yesterday was the day of absolute bliss for me and my hobby. I love being here. I was probably at this desk for a total of, I want to say, at least 10 hours. I felt very, very lucky and very fortunate to be able to do that. All right, back to the thing at hand. Okay, so yeah, I might utilize this, of course, during play. But again, let's focus, Jeremiah. So I might use these trap tiles. So I might pick out the ones that have traps. The ones that have hallway stuff, I'm probably going to keep with the basic stuff. The large tiles, again, I'm going to keep with the basics. Keep the ones with the traps just as options. And traps. Yeah, so let's just bring the ones in. And I may not use them as traps all the time. I might put doors in them. All right, so that does add quite a lot more tiles to choose from. Let's whittle it down. So we have the guard room. We have rooms with doors. All right. I do want to put doors in because I like the idea of segmenting the adventure a bit. I know a lot of people and a lot of GMs out there like to have a dungeon feel like it's living and breathing, and that is fun and all. But as a soloist, if I affect one area of the dungeon and all of a sudden the entire dungeon comes running, the characters are dead or he has to flee. So it's not narratively fun to solve that problem. So I like to do the 4 Against Darkness approach where each room is a separate encounter. Each room is a separate encounter. And, you know, the crawling rules, you know, I'm still going to do the torch timer, you know, so it's not about the encounter is X minutes or whatever. The encounter lasts as long as it does. But each tile is going to effectively be, or each sort of space that things are happening are going to be its own sort of isolated event, if you will. So that's that. Okay, so these are all traps. These are all special rooms, so I will put all special rooms over here. Ancient Battlefield is special. This is just a regular. These are regular. These have doors. That's a room. Doors, room, doors, hallways, special, room, special, doors, hallway, hallway, doors, and special. Okay, so we got these 4 larger rooms. So I think I'm actually going to get rid of these because between the doors and the hallway ones, there's going to be plenty of space to attach things to. And again, we only have, 15 tiles worth of space. So I'm going to get rid of these. And let's pick out special tiles. So I like the pool a lot. The oubliette is interesting. The only thing I have is that these tiles definitely look different. So I'm going to have to be mindful of that while I'm playing. The secret exit, that would be interesting. The tunnel exit could be our entrance, so it could keep that. This is just too good not to keep. Ancient Battlefield, so has a bunch of dead bodies and stuff, something to search. That could be interesting. That's already 4, 5, 6. That's almost a third. That is a third of our available space, or more than already, by just these tiles. So in fact, this can be abstracted in other spaces, so I don't need that. But these dead end pieces are really interesting. The oubliette is technically something that could be rolled, but I like seeing the door, so I'm going to keep that. Guard room, don't need that because that is that is something that can be created. Massacre site, again, can be created. Furnace room, I like this because it has an actual like piece of furniture in it to help with narration. All right, root tiles with doors. So this is going to be a place with 15 max tiles. And I kind of want a mix of doors. So we have a doorway in a hallway, a doorway into a big room. So these two are the same. They are basically exactly the same. So I'm going to keep one of them. In fact, I'll keep the one that has the black arrow. Not that it really matters. And then this is another one that goes into a big space. So I could 3 doors. And a hallway door. So we got 2 room doors, we got a side hallway door, and an end of the hallway door. And I think that'll be plenty of doors for what we're doing. So that's 4. Now we go to the normal sort of things. We got hallway, T intersection, hallway, 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 corner, cross section, that's multiple, cross section, hallway, and corner. The cross one is always a good one to have. T intersection, we have there. Let's just see if we add all of these. How many do I have? That definitely looks more like 15, more than 15. 3, 6, 9, 12, and 15, 18. And I may not use them all. So that's 18. And I guess because I can roll up traps, I don't even need these. And these are all just T intersections and stuff anyway. So looks like I'm going to be primarily using the basic Wrath of Ashardalon tiles. So I need to get rid of 3. And in theory, I could run out of space. It could be smaller. The pool of Ol Hydra, I have an idea that this might be like something interesting. And the oubliette, again, I don't really need this. I like having furniture on tiles to help with, like these. That's just interesting. The furnace room could be interesting because of it can create warmth in a place that's really cold. So I need to get rid of 3 tiles here. So let's get rid of, so we got doors aplenty, doors, big room. We got a hallway. We got 2 hallways, 3 hallways. I can get rid of some hallways. And wait, 4 hallways. Yeah, 5 hallways. No, let's get rid of some of the hallways. Yeah. And technically this one too. So let's get rid of these 2 long hallways because visually they are just more busy on the table. So let's get rid of these 2. And I think that's gonna be good. So, and we will start with one of these as like our entrance, I don't know which, but cool. I think that is, these are the tile sets that we will use. Cool, very cool. I'm actually quite happy on how quickly that came about, once I focused, that is. So we got these tiles. These guys will go forth and be merry among. And I guess, let's see, how much time do I have left? Oh, I have a little bit of time. Okay. Taking the glasses off. All right, so what I do want to do is bring out another notebook just to make some general notes on things that I want. So, oops, I need, monster tables. Well, just one monster table. Probably, this is a random encounter. So everything is going to be technically random because I don't know what's in there, right? And in theory, we do need to create the oracle if that person is, or that thing is there. And honestly, I don't mind doing that on the fly. You know, I'll be honest, when I'm playing like truly solo and I'm not recording it for sharing of the world, again, it's mostly the same, but I will admit, now that it's being shared, I do have the audience's attention in the back of my head, where I am aware that watching someone flip through a book is less than fun, or it's not interesting for the most part, because it is most viewers of content, whatever it is, movies, YouTube, radio, whatever, need a flow. And unfortunately, it's not really my goal for doing this. My goal is just to have a log of my thoughts while I play games. And if it's entertaining, awesome. And that's a nice boon. I add a little bit of light to the hobby. Fantastic. But it's not my ultimate goal. My ultimate goal is kind of selfish. It's for me. It's for my entertainment and my memory, and possibly share it with people that are like-minded, and hopefully get people interested in doing this themselves, and honestly have them see what it's actually like at the table. I know I've had conversations online with people that try various games and then get stuck. And that's very normal. We are a fickle species, and sometimes we just move on to something because something doesn't click, and then we think there's something wrong. There is absolutely nothing wrong. I'm staring at a game right now. I'm like, oh, I really want to play that. But it's been staring at me for 2 weeks, unplayed, untouched, and that's okay, because I'm currently enjoying something in the moment. It is very hard to enjoy things when you are surrounded by distractions. So, if you can, the term is detach from detachment. And it's an ancient saying from Buddhism and among other spiritual, practices. But the idea is that you remove yourself from worrying too much about things. And it can be a focal point in not allowing other elements in your life to affect the thing that you're doing in that moment. And for me, in my hobby, is I'm in my room separated from my family, which is, technically, oh man, I want to spend time with my family, but my family is very distracting to me when I want to do things for myself. So I removed that element. I even bought a sign, especially for doing things like right now, just to have them be aware of what I'm doing. And then I focus on doing my thing. And right now it's just figuring out what I want to do for my Shadowdark campaign. And this is all part of the game. Flipping through the book, Usually for me, I'm talking out loud, and I'm like, oh, I like that. The possessed mushroom folk charge and murderous rage. Ooh, I like mushroom folk. Maybe I'll just have them in the dungeon. And then I'll, spiral with my thoughts. But it's also one of the reasons why I'm facing away from my library, which is behind me. Because my library is absolutely filled with lots of books that I want to play all the time. So if I'm looking at them all the time, I'm going to be distracted, and then feel sad that I can't play it. But that's okay too. So I try to focus in and allow myself to detach from the distractions. So, and be okay with that. That's the thing. And being okay with that is that further detachment. So it's okay not to play things. It's okay to allow yourself to enjoy the moment that you're in and not feel bad that you're enjoying this one game or this one event wholly and fully. It allows you to embrace the experience, and I think that's awesome. And it's hard to do though. We got lots of busy things bounding at us all the time. It's kind of why I'm kind of happy that I'm using my phone to do my recording, because it literally turns off all the notifications. I don't get distracted from Discord or Facebook or a YouTube comments or anything like that pulls me away from the moment. So this particular venue for me has been a godsend. Before I started dictating, before I started talking out loud to myself and recording myself, it was hard to continue a story, because writing something down quietly for me was odd. And even if it was talking to myself, it felt more natural. I have lots of ideas bouncing around in my head, and it's easier for me to get them out if I'm, dictating, even if it is to no one. So, again, random digression. Okay. Monster tables. I need a monster table for this adventure. And also I need the Oracle. Who or what is it? Them. Right? So I need to figure that out. Honestly, I think I might roll that up. I might roll that up at the beginning of the episode, or when it makes sense, and I'm just gonna figure out what to roll on before that, though, instead of flipping through the book and stuff. The other thing is, now I have the tiles, and I know where we are, and I know what we're trying to find. I think that's honestly it for what I need to, quote, prepare for. And so now I kind of actually want to kind of shift and sort of share my thought process on, what do I do next, right? And I guess this will be part 2 of this section on what I do in preparation of playing. And again, preparation is play too. That's part of the philosophy of the Ironsworn series of games. And I'm sure it's just a good philosophy overall in solo gaming anyway. But so I usually put my stuff aside, and I actually do all, I get all my things out of the way, right? And then I usually bring down my timekeeper just like that, to make sure that I have everything on frame. and I'll probably have these off to the side, off camera there. And then I pull out all of my things. And again, I'm someone who likes to have a place for everything and everything in its place. It makes thinking clearer, especially when you're trying to recall things that are in front of you or behind me. I know where most of my books are because I put them away almost all the time, with a few exceptions of things I'm currently playing. I have a stack of things right there that I'm currently playing, like Phaeacin, Against the Wind, my Ironsworn, Starforged, and Vaults of Varn books are right there. My Shadowdark stuff lives permanently on my desk. In fact, I have to find a spot for my newest edition, Shadow Sun book, and this was a discovery a bit ago, and I didn't know how much I was going to love this. I haven't not done a full read through yet, but this book fits so nicely next to the official book, and that I absolutely love. It is obviously not exact, but in terms of shelf look, I have to commend the author to find a size that fits mostly with the aesthetic of the game. And I also got to... I love that this community for Shadowdark, and also just the solo community too, on how supportive we all are in creating things for the games that we love. I have a few projects that I've been doing for myself for quite a long time. And when I discovered this, I was so happy, because right up there, right in front of me, is the world of Athos and the Great Ivory Plain and the oh man, I love looking at that map. It's so inspirational. I never really got to play it officially as a GM or as a player, but I've read all the books, not unfortunately the official books outside of PDF. I want to print those out, but there's so many pages that are colored, and I can't justify printing out that many pages in full color, or wasting ink on the background stuff in black and white. But anyway, again, this is my brain. When I discovered this, I was so happy, because now I have effectively an in-spirit Shadow Sun setting for Shadowdark. And I'm probably gonna run a proper group through this game, through this campaign setting. Oh, and if you noticed, there is a bookmark. Not official, because this was printed through the print on demand through Drive-Thru RPG, but I put a fabric ribbon that you can find basically anywhere. This is 3/8 inch. My wife picked it up for me. Ooh, yikes. Bumping my boom. Anyway, so I just taped it on the back page here, and it works just fine. And so, yeah, this is my newest addition to the Shadowdark library. And again, I'm going to have to find a spot right there. But I have to move stuff around. Yeah, Shadowdark lives permanently on my desk because I love it that much. I only get to run it a couple of times here and there. I've only run it for my family like less than 5 times since I got the quick start. And we just struggle getting everyone at the table to play it at the same time because of, we're all busy and moods. You know, it's fair to say that not everyone wants to play role playing games every time that they have a free time. I'm the exception. I will drop whatever I'm doing for a role playing game. But it's also one of the reasons why I picked up this hobby, because we're all busy people. We got, families to take care of, jobs to go to, bills to pay. Some people paint minis as their downtime. I said that because I'm staring at an unpainted mini that I wanted somebody to paint. My wife. But we're all really busy, and I can't get people to play all the time, and that's fine. And I used to be upset about that. But Ironsworn and Ironsworn Starforged and the Solo Game Master's Guide itself, those books really reforged my brain into allowing myself to enjoy the solo side of the hobby more than I thought I ever could. And I've fully embraced it. It's not my preferred way of playing, I'll be very honest, but it is extremely enjoyable, and I can get so much more accomplished with each session than if I only relied on group play. And that's why Shadowdark, a group play system, is so easy to solo, though, because it has so many good built-in tools for the soloist to create things, and you only need a simple oracle to utilize alongside of it. So, but I think that's going to be the end of today. I've rambled on enough. I've burned a hole through both ears. So I think I will say toodaloo for today, and probably get to recording this session that will come out before this episode, or before this little behind the scenes rant. And until next time, folks, I'll see you on the flip side.